Affidian magazine presents Celebrating Our Authors with publisher and host Karina Felix. Straight from our reading room, we invite authors to discuss their books. Join us as we celebrate our authors. Hello, and happy Monday. Today we are celebrating our authors, and we have Miss Mary Jane Charles with us. Hi, Mary Jane. How are you?
I'm well, Karina. Thank you. We're wearing company colors today.
I know we're matching. How cool is that? So I'm excited to have you on, and I know we've had you on before in the other shows, but today we're going to specifically talk about your book and the message that you are bringing to our viewers today, and the importance of why you write this book. So first, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we're going to go into why you wrote this book, and then how people could benefit from your book.
Well, thank you. I'm Mary Jane Charles. I name myself the Last Wishes Facilitator, which at first I thought, well, it's odd, but it works. So, where my books came from, and if you've not heard my story, it's long and actually short and sweet. Long story short, I sat down like 3 weeks after my husband's sudden funeral, and I had too much in my brain. I had to write. That is self therapy for me. I find walks and writing very therapeutic. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So I took what I knew and I looked at the piles on my dining room table and realized they could be chapters. You had real estate, you had financial, medical, whatever else was sitting there. I just started writing. I did not have an outline. I just said, holy cow, today. And I was journaling. And the more I journaled, the more I organized after the fact, not while I was writing. And by Memorial Day weekend, he had died the first week of May. By Memorial Day weekend, I had the makings of a book. And that's why my story, the shorter book, Surviving the Business of Dying, Why Final Papers Matter. Once you die, that's the beginning of the story, not the end by a long shot. All the business you have, and we all have business, it does not depend upon money. That should be in the will. This is the business so that the lights in your home can stay on and the rent gets paid and the cat gets to the veterinarian. That's your business at home, your personal keys to your kingdom. And who knows them better than you do? Nobody. You might have a good neighbor who's in tune and they can be very helpful. But at the same time, you've got a lot going on, like your passwords. So as I came across a bump in the road, I thought this needs to be in the book, and this needs to be in the book. And so my little book is little, looks like a Reader's Digest. And I completed it. And a year later, I threw it in a contest of some kind, and it won. So I thought, this is fun. Who knew? And that was that. Well, my friends liked the book, but they still didn't know where to begin. So with that, I created a workbook about the size of an old coloring book, 8.5 by 11, and it's simple questions and answers with an empty page on the other side. That's because we write, and I just put in little spaces, but you can answer on the far side as much as you want. And it is your book. Every adult over 18 should have their own, because we're all just a little different.
Right.
And sometimes big differences, but I try to include everything. It gives you, I promise you it's nothing new. You've seen much of it, but you want to fill it in when you have nothing else to think about. It could be a TV. Where's my book? Fill it in pencil, because we do change our minds.
True.
and you have a fuss with someone and you're like, no, and you don't cross out. If you cross out, little rule from years ago in real estate, always date and initial the change. Don't erase.
That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Years ahead, hopefully, when someone wants to look at your book of all your notes, you don't want them remotely accused of having changed something.
Right.
And
Right.
there's always in any family, or, we all know one. You put a stamp in the middle of the floor, they're going to claim it. It's going to be
Right.
theirs. So
So
you have,
I have to ask you a question though. How do people react when they first read the name of the book, when they hear the business of dying? What's the feedback that you have gotten from people so far?
I have a niece who saw the title. She's never so much as cracked the book. Why would you write such a thing? I said, you have no idea what it's about. Did you
Exactly.
read the back of the label? I have profuse thanks and gratitude for such a. She wouldn't even open the book. So,
So when people hear the business of dying, they're assuming that it's what's happening when you are dying. But
right,
really, all you're trying to say is, did you leave all your paperwork, all your wills, all your passwords in a place where the people, your family, your friends, whoever that needs to find it could find it? Because that's the
exactly.
confusion. Where, like at that moment, it's like, where's the deed to the car? Where's the deed to the house? Where's
Right.
the bank accounts? Where's there's like the details that we don't think about.
How do you start the mower in the garage? That old mower. How do you do that? It is somewhat of a misnomer. People see business of dying. It's not about dying.
It's not about
Read
dying.
the word before it. It's business.
I actually call it, it's the business of peace of mind,
Yes,
because it gives you knowing that somewhere there's documentation where your children, your spouse, or whoever is left behind can find your stuff. But you made a comment the last time, not even when you're dying. What if you just have a medical issue and someone
exactly.
needs to find out, well, what kind of medication are you on, what kind of, you know whatever that is, what issues do you have? It's just information we should all have.
It's for when you don't need a dire circumstance to fill this out at all. In a dire circumstance, when your brain ceases working, and you're lucky if you remember your own name, to know that there's an oversized yellow book available that you saw her filling it out. I know Karina's got this. I mailed it to her. Where did she put it? Um, Hot dog, this will tell you on page, uh, what is it, 31, social media accounts. What do you want done with them? Who your social media administrator is? Oh my goodness, I never heard of that
But
before.
it's interesting because even Facebook has somewhere that says, when you cannot manage your account and
That's
it's
right.
messing, who gets to manage it for you? Because many times people cannot go in to even shut down that account or do something with that account because no one knows the password, and Facebook don't just give you permission just like that.
And multiply that times Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. And
Correct.
so that's where you would put these. And you have name a social media administrator. I think it's presumptuous to think that all executors, which sometimes might be the attorney, depending on how you set things up, social media can be very private.
Yes.
And I would have, and they need to be tech savvy, bottom line, reliable and trustworthy.
Yeah.
So I know who mine is. And
Yeah.
I don't doubt they would do a smashing job, but you need somebody who is tech savvy and reliable.
Right.
The same as you would for another position I created is a first lieutenant. That's someone who also knows about the book. The book, when it's completed, is not the Thanksgiving dinner conversation. This is your private information.
Right.
And God forbid if you cannot speak for yourself for whatever reason, and it need not be you're not going to be here tomorrow, you're just unavailable now, but whatever the issue is, someone
Right.
needs to tend to your business, that they know of this book, they would call the first lieutenant. My case, that would be my son.
Right.
He
Do
knows
you, so I'm
that.
wondering, do you have also a page there for like a power of attorney so that once
Yes,
they fill it in, or that could be part of your power of attorney?
correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah, your attorney should definitely know that there are such people. And an attorney, I'm sure by now, has people who will do all of the above, but they will charge you. And you don't know them. They're his staff, not yours. So
Yes.
you really do want somebody who you know, love, and trust
Right.
to pick up the ball. And they don't need to be introduced to anyone. They know all the players. They know how you did things.
Right.
As long as they're 18 or older, um, social media experts can be 12. They're pretty savvy people. So that's your call entirely.
I
But
mean,
put
including your phone, because all of our phones are blocked. I mean, they have
this is
passwords
it.
and they have a lot of information in there. So even that,
And to save time, you can name someone as co-signer on your banking and credit cards. They don't need to know that ahead of time.
right,
But if you can't speak for yourself, your first lieutenant will bring out the book and say, don't worry, we have, and it might be them, whatever your choices are.
right,
Again, reliability and trustworthiness
right.
to understand what a cosigner is and what they're responsible for. It's a big deal to do someone else's banking.
Yes.
So and but my little book, it's
Well, I
only
love
that.
I love that you have a workbook that goes with it because, as you said, we read books and then we don't know how to implement it. So you actually created the workbook to help us implement it.
Yes, and you can jump around. It's not a contest. There are no rights and wrongs. It's your personal information. It's like an old address book. Remember those? And it had all
Right,
kinds of wonderful
right,
places
yes,
in the front to write birthday dates, anniversaries. I didn't get into that, but I did get into people who should be notified.
right. Oh yeah, that's a
And
good one.
after the fact, I got home. I had those people on my phone that I knew of, and we did know how to get into his phone. That saved time. But if you ask me what my son's phone number was, I have no idea.
Exactly. We don't
So
remember numbers no more.
I don't know. I know it's a bookkeeper numbers. Yeah, I type them. I don't memorize them. But so this little book, the companion workbook, goes from everything. Do you have a will? Do you have a medical directive? Into what some might say, that's just bad taste. Um, how you what you want to dress? How do you want to be dressed at your funeral?
That's another thing. Exactly. Do you want a burial? Do you want a cremation? Do you want a grave?
Absolutely.
I mean, people do have, they do like to know that they have a choice still.
Yeah.
And
And
we've all said it. Like I've said stuff like, cremate me, please. But it's out there. That doesn't mean
that's
they
right.
took me serious. So I still have
And
to document that.
if someone wants to be cremated, that's fine. There's this part B to that question. And then what? Do you want to go out to sea? You can't be buried in your backyard? My father used to tease me about that. Just put me under that tree, and I don't want to wear my shoes. Don't ask me, but I remember that. It's like, what do I know? And so as you fill this in, if you fill it in with a friend or your spouse, you will be laughing just as Karina and I are. Topics pop up that you're like, really? And so I'm trying to remember
Do
who.
you know that I actually already wrote my own eulogy? I'm like,
Yes,
I want you to read my eulogy because it's going to be funny, and we're going to be laughing because I don't want anyone crying.
No, well, this is, I have a spot to begin your eulogy.
Oh, that is
And
excellent. I love that.
yeah, and it seems untoward, but there's an author, Julia Cameron, and she gives you this exercise in one of her books. She's a writer and a playwright and professor. She's wonderful. But she said, write it for 100 years from now and include all the awards you've won, all the Nobel
Right,
Peace Prizes, all the foundations that you've begun. I mean,
right,
it's out there, but it's for 100 years from now. It
right,
lightens the topic, but it makes you think. And it's a delightful exercise. There's nothing morbid about it. And it can be very funny. At the same time, it's okay to start a sentence because you don't know who's, or at least name who you hope to have say your eulogy. That
right.
almost turned into a family fight in my experience. Not my own
Yes,
personal
yes, I
family.
could see that.
This side was like, oh, he's not saying. And they're all looking at me. I said, this is not my jurisdiction. I don't tell people who can talk. And they were step people. They didn't belong to me, so
Right.
to speak.
That
I
is
said,
true. I mean, yeah, it's true.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. Family, once they get together, there's always going to be a name.
Oh my God. And yeah, you know, you hope the pastor or whoever comes in to sit is really
Correct.
good with people because otherwise he's going to be pushed out of the way.
Correct. That is so
And
true.
so again, the humor comes in. You kind of sit and wait for it to start. And if someone throws a line across the table, you're like, holy smokes, let the games begin, you know.
Right.
But write it down. And if you make changes, don't erase, initial and date it. Make sure you date it and don't erase that. But do it in pencil because it's easier on your hand as you fill in. This is not to be a digital thing. You still need signatures in life.
Okay.
And if it's filled out and there are any questions for the will down the line, if it's filled out and dated and initial, there's a possibility it could be this little book could be
Right.
accepted as what they call a first reference, a first
Right.
source,
Right.
primary
Right.
source.
Like if someone left a will that's not really, signed and documented by a notary. I don't know. Maybe you have that somewhere at the end, also somewhere where the notary could sign off on that and make it also more, legal.
Yeah, I am not an attorney, so this is not by itself a legal
No, but
document.
I could take my book with me and say, this is my wishes. Can you
That's right.
notarize it and make it legal?
Yes, you can, and make it part of the estate papers
Right.
at that point. But I also go into, all the things you need. Here you're in a trauma situation, even if it's expected, the finality of life is traumatic. And then most funerals, not all, are the next week. All of a sudden, you have to have a reception for 100 plus people. Don't do that to yourself. I made one phone call to a prior parish years before, and the same lady was there who was there in charge of these things. Oh, Mary Jane. And within 48 hours, I could check off the flowers, the reception, who the caterer was going to be, what music I thought of, what she suggested. I mean, your brain by yourself in the moment, you don't want to plan. It's like planning a wedding almost,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I like what you said in our last interview when you said we should, at that point, you need time for healing and not time for running around taking care of the business
Yeah.
of dying. And healing needs its time also. And so if you have this in place, it takes so much away. You can start your healing journey earlier, sooner than later.
Or at least it's one huge thing that you don't have to think about today. reliable people are doing it for you. And they love to do this. So let them have it. You don't have
Right.
to be in control. It'll be just fine. I, you know, everyone was complimenting me on the flowers. Like, thank you. I mean,
Thank you, but
I'll take it. I need a thank you. But so my book is not laid in granite. It is more of a suggestion. Had you thought of this? Oh, I didn't know that. I would never have known that. I know what's in here that can be done any day, and you don't want to do it to the last minute. And that is if someone is a veteran and wants to have a military funeral. That
right,
takes a couple of weeks in general to get all the documents. Somebody could gather those now. Just put them in an envelope
right.
and put them in the back of the book. Done.
That makes a lot
Because
of
they
sense.
need to prove honorable discharge. But go to your local veterans. They'll walk you right through it. Again, don't make yourself crazy. Go to people who do this all the time for all kinds of reasons. Um, but definitely that's in here. But that's one thing you can do ahead of time for anybody
Right.
is gather that information. So God forbid there's an instant that you need it. You're like, I got it. It's right here.
So my
So
question is, so I have the book, I have
yes,
the workbook, and so the book is just general what I should do. The workbook is now filling in my own personal information. I'm wondering, do you have maybe a workshop that people could work with you and you can help them walk through, because it's very daunting and it's kind of a little scary, you know, that people hear
sure.
that and we still have a fear of the word dying, of even thinking about it, and it gets scary. So is there somehow they can work with you and you
Indeed,
take that step by step?
I have classes each month. I have classes coming up on the 23rd of September. Um, and I have to check, but I can also make them the 24th. They're usually at 1 in the afternoon. It's an introductory class to my workbook, and
Right.
we just breeze through it. And in that time, you get to see what I'm talking about. In addition to that, I will be having a quarterly class as a group. I'm getting all my workbook people together.
That is
And we're going to go through it in a 3 hour class um, to get her done. It's going to be called my Get Her Done class. Last but not least, and that's not till November.
okay.
And at any time, I can do one-to-ones. And that's all on my website, which is lastwishesinsupport.com. It's not the word and, it's the letter N, Last Wishes in Support. I was trying to shorten it, and I have to explain it every time now. So, um, and I will be having also a bigger production in December, whereby I will have uh, professionals of different disciplines who deal with the business of dying, a probate attorney, a financial person, um, caregiving specialist, all the different angles of what this represents. But this is pretty much caregiving for number one, yourself and anyone around you. And while it might seem very simple and or trite in places, it's poignant to be able to present it to your family, or they find it or are shown it with gratitude and relief because they do not need to figure anything out. It's called detailed instructions. That's all we're doing.
Yes, it
We've
is. But
all went through it.
many times we wait till last minute. And again, this is my own experience with, you know, when my father got sick and, you know, and I realized at that moment, we all just went, is there a will? Where's the will? What happens? You know, the house, the bank account. And we started like losing our mind. And
Yeah,
my sister had done something, but it wasn't in details. And thank goodness the lawyer says, it's a good thing you called us now because your paperwork was not, it wasn't complete. So, but that was just part of it. You know, that's when we were all scrambling. Oh, the bank account. And oh my goodness. And I thought, this is crazy. And then I saw what you're doing, and I'm like, genius, yay, makes so much sense. And like you
And
said, it doesn't matter age because
no, we all lived through the pandemic, or many of us did, and those that didn't, many of those poor people were young. So anyone over 18 should have a will and have a companion workbook. If someone decides to be a fireman or a policeman or go in the service, one of the first things they do among the many forms is fill out a will. They have to have a will.
you have to.
So this is not a horrific thing to ask somebody
You
who's
have to. And, you know, you,
19 and
you
then
mentioned 18 years old. Oh, I guess we lost connection with Mary Jane. I hope she comes right back on. I hope all is well with her. Well, this is the Reading Room. It's part of the Affidian Network platform where we help people build their business and do social collaboration. And if you haven't heard from us, you can check us out at Affidian, Affidian, inc.com. That's for Affidian network, and we have the Affidian TV under umbrella. We have the magazine that's coming out soon. We have a learning platform for we have courses that you want to share with our audience. It's all here. It's all visible, and please reach out to Mary Jane if you're interested in doing her workshop. Again, you could get her book. It's called Surviving the Business of Dying. You could purchase it at mjcauthor.com. And her website is lastwishesandsupport.com. There you are. I don't know what happened. We lost you. I was just giving them little fast updates.
my kitten disconnected my cord. Anyone want a kitty?
You see, I'm here thinking it's internet. You're like, oh, it's my kitty decided to walk across my laptop.
Oh my Lord. So
That is
that's why
excellent.
you need my book. When things happen and you cannot do anything about them quickly,
Right.
holy cow.
That is excellent. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour and top of the half hour. And I want to just say thank you so much, Mary Jane. That was really important information. And I hope that our viewers are paying attention because what I was going to say that even my kids, I got young kids in their early 20s, and you know, they got cars and the deed of the cars is in their name. And if anything happened, where's all this paperwork? Like I just like now I could my mind is going, oh my goodness, all this stuff I got to think about now. But this makes life more organized, and we all like to have an organized life.
Yes. And it's for anyone. You think of all the newly marrieds and they're happy as can be and God love them and houses and babies and every they really do need this. They do. So it's right up there with any other growing up procedure.
You know, and it probably also works for people with younger kids. You know, I think one of my biggest fears when my kids were young was like, please, please, you know, keep me alive. I want to raise my own kids, but you
Yes,
never know what life brings you. So even that, you want to leave instructions if anything happened or when you travel. When I travel, I would leave, you know, a power of attorney with whoever's watching my kids, or you know, even just stuff
yeah.
like that. So
That's all part of the will in having an attorney. Even though you think attorneys are expensive, it's not an expense, it's an investment. And having been in the situation where I did not have one, and in the process of completing this estate without a will, it goes to the state and you have to go by their rules. And
and
you
it's
are
very
have to go
expensive.
through a procedure to be declared the personal representative. You say, well, I'm his wife. Get in line, sweetheart. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And so you,
If
you
it
do
goes to probate and it goes to the courts, you're gonna spend a lot of crazy money. and it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be tied up for, I'm going to say months, but it could be years too.
So you want an attorney that knows your name. Two attorneys couldn't do the job. The estate was not a big one, which is a euphemism for you like a cheap date. They're not going to make any money. And so I was at their mercy. I fired two of them. They were both women. So not to badmouth women, but I was just like, come on, girls, let's get on, what's the deal? And I did go with a gentleman. 2/3 of that was he understood my name. It was Mary Jane. It wasn't Mary. I had no problem with Mary, but it's not that hard. Make an effort. So you do in a hurry want someone who will hear Mary Jane's on the phone and they're like, okay, and boom, they're in action. That's what they are there for. And again, it's you check mark on your list.
Right.
And you want thing there'll be a lot to do, but you want it to be smooth.
Correct. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with us. I was just telling them earlier where they could purchase your book and your workbook and find more information and to join you on your workshops when you're coming up. Again, you can also tune into Affidianinc.com. I'm going to have all of that information in our reading room where Mary Jane has her books and her information. And this show will also be on demand streaming at the Affidian TV. And it will be broadcasted again later to this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. So please, whatever, reach out to us one way or the other. As you know, this is a very important information all of us should have just for the peace of mind for the other people that needs to take care of us at some point. So,
Indeed. The relief is worth its weight in gold. It's just wonderful to have instructions.
yes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you again for tuning in to Reading Room, celebrating our authors. And we're here on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. And if you haven't spoken to me and you have a published book, please reach out to me and let's let people know what your message is, what your book is about, and how you are here to serve society. So thank you again. My name is Karina Felix, and have a great week. Thank you for watching Reading Room, celebrating our authors. For more articles, go to magazine.affidianinc.com.